Welcome, guests, to the Sister System.
Help me out, guys. What is this, a talking horse?
Sorry about my appearance. I was in a meeting with the animal planet of anthropomorphia, so I look like a horse. I'm queen, whatever I would not be. I could change my form to something else if this makes you uncomfortable.
Hey, guys.
No, go back. The horse was much more palatable.
Hello and welcome. I'm your host Comic Knight Zero, and today we'll be talking about the LEGO Movie 2, the second part. Now, back in 2014, when the first LEGO movie came out, audiences were blown away by the movie's gorgeous visuals, its attention to detail with the LEGO environment, and its comedic writing style that catered to audiences of all ages. So, with that in mind, we're now left with the question, does the sequel hold up to its predecessor? I'd argue, yes, but not to the same degree. Like I mentioned before, a core element that made the first movie so great was its visual ability to completely immerse audiences into the LEGO world with its fluid animation of LEGO pieces. With the sequel, the animation is more or less up to the same standard. Now, I may be in the minority with this, but an issue I had with the first movie was that there were some close-up action scenes that felt too cluttered or too hard to follow, but thankfully this movie doesn't suffer from that problem. Now, before I went into this, I had the feeling that the animation would still be on par with its predecessor, so then my main concern was really, how is the movie going to present to us another solid story to complement it? You see, the movie opens at the exact same place where the first one ends, with the invasion of the Duplos. You know, those weird and bulkier versions of Legos your girlfriend told you not to worry about. And after a devastating defeat from the Duplo, everyone spends their time training and preparing for an all-out attack from these alien beings, leading everyone to grow up with more mature and edgier attitudes. Everyone. Except Emmett.
2 copies, please. 1 black, 1 with just a touch of cream and 25 sugars.
And so, after some important event happens, Emmett is sent yet again on another journey to save the world and his friends, but this time with a stronger emphasis on trying to find himself. In the first movie, Emmett became self-conscious about the fact that he wasn't considered to be special or interesting. Here, he's self-conscious about how he isn't edgy or mature enough like the rest of the world, and feels that, because of this, it's his fault for why his friends are in trouble. Now, I would complain about this duology having 2 journeys of self-discovery back-to-back, but this journey actually has a valid reason for being a plot point. I'm glad it wasn't just thrown in there for the sake of keeping Emmett involved in the story. Not to mention, he's also gotten better at building things without instructions, which he struggled a lot with in the previous movie. It's nice to see him build useful and more practical things this time around. And during the building process, they now display the part number that's being used in the build, which was a nice touch. As for the other characters, we can see they've had little to no trouble adjusting to the more mature state of their environment. Emmett, Lucy, and Batman mostly drive the plot in regards to characters we've known from the last movie, whereas characters like Unikitty, Benny, and Metalbeard are still involved in the story, but aren't quite as utilized as they were in the previous movie. It's not really a complaint, just an observation, so don't get your hopes too high if you're wanting to see more from them in this movie. Overall, I enjoyed the plot. One interesting difference between the 2 movies was the more involved story elements that revolved around what's happening in the real world, and so we got more scenes that included the people who are actually playing with the Legos. For example, in the previous movie, for at least the first few minutes, our assumption was that these LEGO characters are acting independently without any intervention from something beyond their world. But, throughout the movie, we're given these subtle hints and notions that there's an outside world that these characters aren't quite aware of yet. Something like an 8.5-year-old time skip can seem randomly specific until we get the reveal that there's actually a father and child playing with these Legos. And once the father says he'll have to start letting his daughter play in the basement as well, that's when the Duplos get introduced, thus ending the first movie. And so the LEGO Movie 2 uses this interaction between humans and Legos in the same vein, but to greater effect. As in, real-world problems leads to bigger LEGO world consequences. Like its predecessor, you can sense this great divide between how the humans of the house want to play with these toys, and the LEGO world accurately reflects that. And so we're given more scenes of the people in the house to give us a more contextual understanding of why the LEGO environment is in the current state that it's in. The Sistar system, which is the alien's homeworld, was pretty and well designed, although it would have been nice to explore it just a bit more. Moving from the Mad Max-like environment that the movie starts in to a more homier and inviting palace-like atmosphere was a nice change of pace, especially since the previous movie had so many dark colors and a generally gloomier theme to it. The homeworld's color palette mostly consisted of pinks and purples with some gray and yellow thrown in there, which overall complements the aliens' color designs. Speaking of which, the aliens' designs are pretty interesting as well. They were either comprised of more Lego pieces or slightly taller Lego figures with a few more distinct features, allowing them to be a little more expressive and have more fluidity to their animations than our main Lego group. It definitely helps immerse you into the idea that you're in a completely different toy set. Although I wasn't expecting it, there were a few musical numbers in this movie. Again, unexpected, but I welcomed the idea nonetheless. Some songs held more weight to the plot than others, but they were all accompanied by beautiful and colorful sequences which still made them enjoyable to watch, whether you like the songs or not. And who knows, maybe even one of those songs will get stuck inside your head. The movie's comedic writing is still as solid as ever, and I personally think it's the movie's greatest strength. It's filled with jokes that easily appeal to audiences of all ages, which, believe it or not, I actually saw more adults laughing at it than their kids were, which I found pretty interesting. And if you appreciated the Lego set cameos or references from the first movie, then you'll definitely enjoy the ones here. Overall, it was a pretty good movie. I don't think you'll get that same sense of amazement as people did with the first Lego movie, but it follows up the first one quite nicely and is still worth the watch. It never feels like it was stuck in the previous movie's shadow, and is still able to stand up on its own. Alright, I think that'll be it for today. Do you plan on watching the movie? Or, if you've seen it already, what'd you think of it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. As always, feel free to like and subscribe. Or don't. I won't tell you what to do. I ain't your mama. Hope you have a nice day. And with that, I shall see you all next time.